All right. Looks like we're live on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Between Two Stoves. I have got kind of a different show today. I am just talking to a couple of regular guys today, okay? This whole thing that I started, this Between These Two Stoves, is all been about stories about how people are making a pivot in life during the times of COVID, right? And especially those people in our local regional food chain, you know, whether they work in a restaurant or whether they are producing food out on a farm or brewing beer or fermenting wine or anything in between, right? And that's what I want to hear about. And so today we are talking to two individuals. First up, I've got kind of a mystery man. I don't know if I want to really throw his name out there too much because he's kind of running this underground little bootleg thing during COVID, right? And so I'll just call him, how about Jeremy K? Is that okay for now?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I got your name, Jeremy, up there, right there. So anyway, I wanted to talk to him and talk about what he's doing during COVID. Okay, he's a restaurateur guy. I want to ask him, you know, about his background and everything, and how he's making it through COVID, right? One of these displaced restaurant employees you always hear about, right? And then after that, I've got an organic farmer who's out there. He's actually kind of had a window of opportunity open for him. He landed a position as a organic farm manager. And he's turning a land that's basically been kind of growing wild for a little while now. He's turning that into an organic farm that is actually producing food in a sustainable way. Okay, and so we're going to talk to him after that about, you know, what it takes to kind of get an organic farm off the ground. Okay, so hopefully it is interesting content for you people that are viewing. At this point here, let me take just 1 minute before I bring on Mr. Jeremy. I want to make sure that I've got a chat going up on here, and if anybody has comments or questions, maybe throw them out there in the chat and we can kind of address them to these gentlemen that are sitting here. And here we go, we're almost there. And got to make sure I turn that down. And you can be the first to comment. I got Gregory Burger showing up. A.V. Breedlove. Oh yeah, nice. A couple of Sacramento institutions that I'm sure know a couple of these guys out here. Okay, so very, very nice. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let me bring on Jeremy K, the mystery man. Okay, he is the wandering chef. You might have seen him out there on social media. I've been kind of curious about what it is that he is doing here in Sacramento to make a living during COVID, right? So Jeremy, first of all, can you kind of tell us who you are? Maybe not too much, as much detail as you want to go into. Okay.
Sure.
Kind of give us an idea of what you've been doing before life in COVID. Okay.
Sure. So like you said, lifelong hospitality person, been in the business since I was 16. I'm in my early 40s now, so it's been kind of a long time. I've done a lot, mainly working actually in management over the last 10, 15 years, but most recently embracing my culinary background. Before COVID, I was working at Magpie with Ed Rohr. It was great times, and looking forward to potentially going back there when things pick up and move into a more full swing thing.
Absolutely. By the way, shout out to Magpie. We love them. We love
absolutely.
Magpie.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, so now I started the Wandering Chef 5 years ago when I moved back to Sacramento.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. You've been doing this Wandering Chef for a while. Is it kind of a private chef thing, a catering thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's really meant to be small event catering / personal private chef services. So most of the time, I'm being hired for anywhere from 2 to 15 people. I'm going into people's homes. I'm cooking multi-course meals. I'm doing everything, the cooking, the cleaning, the serving, all of that stuff. I mean, depending on the number of people, I might bring somebody with me, an assistant, another cook.
So you got some homies you can bring along if you got a bigger party, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And now that the COVID thing kicked in, I've been doing door-to-door delivery, basically creating single plate meals. I post them on Facebook and Instagram, and people order and pay through that medium. I can take Venmo and PayPal and cash and all that. And basically I'll post a couple days in advance. I'll let people know what I'm doing, and then I'll show up at your door with the food and drop it off.
So this is exactly what I wanted to hear about. I mean, it's just people making it happen. I think a lot of the rules are going to be, are kind of at least temporarily out the window at this point, and people need to be able to do something to survive out there. And so I imagine you are just kind of an early player. I imagine there are others doing this out there and everything. And that's why I wanted to kind of talk to you, man. This is exactly the sort of thing I wanted to hear. It's like, my whole thing is like, I'm a culinary teacher, and it's like, I want to talk to my students about possibilities in the future. Right. So this looks like a possibility. So tell me, how did you get started with this, and how and we'll go from there. How did you really kind of start it up? What were the first kind of things you had to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think I realized that, that it was going to be a while before restaurants were going to be reopening. And I didn't want to just sort of sit around. I mean, and like I said, I'm a lifetime restaurant guy, so it's not like I can just transition into office work and work remotely from home.
Can I just say, it's like who would have thought this business would have ever like come to a screeching halt? It's just like out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, luckily though, I do feel like as cooks, and I think this is one thing you can always tell your students, is just that, I've always felt like my skill set allows me to travel wherever I want to go. And for a long time, I've realized that I can be my own boss. It's not always a consistent financial, there's not always money coming in necessarily in the same way that you would if you're working for somebody else. But I mean, my two hands can make food, and as if I can, with this thing and the social media thing, I'm able to now just get out to people. So I have the time, I have a car, I'm able to be efficient about what I'm doing, and I think people have been pretty responsive to the idea of ordering and just making their life easier. The things that I'm cooking aren't always real complicated. I mean, sometimes there's techniques and things, and it can be time consuming, but sometimes it's more comfort food, and I think people just people want a break from cooking their own food. And if they know that
I know I do once in a while.
Yeah, sure. And if they know that they can get what I consider restaurant quality food delivered to their door at a reasonable price, I think that they're learning to be okay with that.
Can you, I wanted to ask you to throw a couple of items out there, just to suggest, the types of things that you do for folks, they might want to hear.
Well, I mean,
what are some of your greatest hits?
Yeah, well, the thing is that, without having a restaurant that has a singular sort of mantra or a singular thing that I'm known for, I've been able to really have a really wide base. I mean, it basically is what am I in the mood to cook?
Yeah, no rules, right?
No rules. Yeah. No one's going to say that doesn't fit into this, or it doesn't make sense for your restaurant. So I've done. I did a Middle Eastern spiced meatloaf. I've done several variations of fried chicken.
Oh, nice.
I did
fried chicken seems one of those things that can travel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love cold chicken, and so whether they're going to eat it hot or eat it the next day, it's going to be good no matter what.
It seems well suited for COVID, is
totally
what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a Vietnamese vermicelli bowl last week. I think people were receptive to that. And then I've done
very different from the other stuff.
Totally. And I did a classic seafood Newburg, which I think is actually, it's classic to maybe to you and to some older folks, but it's definitely a new thing for people probably in their 20s and early 30s.
It's not something you see every day out there.
No, it's not. No,
right.
It's not.
Yeah. I'd kind of be blown away if I saw a Newburg on a menu these days.
Right. I worked for Spangers. It was a fish
Oh,
restaurant.
yeah.
It was around for like 100 years in Berkeley. It doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore, but they served it there, and I don't know what made me think of it, but I loved it. I thought it would visually be a beautiful plate, and also travel pretty well, and it did. And I think people really liked it.
It's kind of stewy, saucy,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, yeah. That
Mm-hmm.
would definitely work. Hey, that's something to kind of consider going into the, you're primarily like making the food, and it's got to travel, right? So you've got to think of, how this food is going to travel. You've got to pick stuff that's going to work for with that in mind, right?
Yeah. It's really that changes the dynamic in a huge way, and I think like. I mean, even restaurants that were doing takeout before COVID, I still think that this has posed a challenge to really be able to translate the really great food that you can have in a restaurant, in a way that can travel and either that people can reheat, or that people can eat cold, or that people can finish on their own, because maybe there's some component of it that needs to be warmed up, not in a microwave or something.
My 2 cents, I see these guys that are just taking, the idea of something simple and cranking it out, around town, whether it's a burger or it's a cold spring roll, or it's dumplings or something, and just cranking it out. I see lots of ideas like that. Micro enterprise, right? That's sort of an idea.
Well, I mean, and that's in all fairness, that's been like, I've taken the sort of opposite end of the spectrum, where I haven't, we were talking last week about, is there one thing that you do, that you're doing regularly, or that's popped back up again, or that you're known for? And the answer is no, that there isn't anything that I've like singularly focused on. I mean, maybe I'll get to that point sooner than later, after I've done dozens of other things, just to see what people are interested in. But part of it is just maintaining my own level of interest. Again, I'm cooking what I want to be eating, so there's only so many times in a week that I'm going to eat fried chicken.
So speaking of that, are you going all, pretty local, seasonal, all of that? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit? Or
the price points that I've been sort of forced to put on some of these dishes is just because, not as a restaurateur who has the buying power to buy from some of these larger companies, I am having to go to boutique shops or upscale shops to get some of the stuff that I really want to get. So I've been to Cordy's, V Miller, Sunfish, Odo's Asian Market.
So you're not just slanging cheap stuff, out of Restaurant Depot or something like that.
No, I mean, there are things obviously that I might pick up olive oil from a cash and carry or Restaurant Depot or something
or
like
flour,
that,
or things like that.
But proteins, no. I mean, I would never do that. Plus I'm
produce
not. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm also not doing it, in that kind of bulk. It's like, I'm not going to buy a 50-pound sack of onions. I mean, yes, I would use them, but where am I going to store it? And I end up going
tricky. I mean, it's tricky for me. I kind of do a little bit of that personal chef stuff out of my house, if you can call it that. It's more classes and things, but it's like, hey, I got one fridge, man, and it's like I got this much space, and I got to figure out how to make it work. And so, it's a lot to think about. Okay, and that's one of the things I want to kind of do. It's like, people don't think about the packaging, or is your packaging ever a problem? Are we running low on those kind of supplies? Like,
well, I mean, obviously I hate the idea of single-use plastic. Styrofoam, I'm not going to use that. I mean, and then again, just the idea of the presentation and how it's going to look in front of somebody when I deliver it to them. I want them to just like sitting down at a restaurant and somebody puts a plate of food in front of you. I want to get that initial
the awe factor.
Yeah,
The wow factor.
some of
Yeah.
that. So, the packaging definitely comes into play, and thinking, what am I going to be able to garnish it with? What it's going to have to come on the side, and then, is it just a separate thing? I mean, I think I've figured out what works for me, and I've been able to keep a consistent flow of that. But there's not a wide range. I mean, in terms of packaging for me to be able to use, at least not that I have found. I mean, maybe if I went onto the internet and sourced it, and was really trying to do that, maybe I could do that. But I'm just going out and finding what I can find.
Gotcha. Just wondering kind of if you're seeing like shortages of things like that. I figure every restaurant in town's probably trying to snatch that stuff up these days.
Yeah, I mean, gloves, just like, because normal people are going into these places and buying gloves too. So gloves have been kind of an issue. I was using, I mean, I don't know if this is the kind of detail that anybody cares about, but
this is what I want.
I was using an 8-ounce, container that I really liked. And then all of a sudden, the place that I was getting this couldn't get it in anymore. It was like week after week after week. They just don't have it. I finally asked them about it, and they said, yeah, our supplier is out of stock from it. And I think it's because what I'm trying to use is probably what a lot of restaurants are using, because it's a reheatable, it's reheatable packaging. So, if somebody wants to throw it in the oven, they don't have to transfer it from what I'm giving it to them, like a paper box.
It's like the perfect thing that everybody wants. And me, I'm just a pessimist, man. These are my questions. It's like, I know I'm looking down the line. It's like, hey, what's it going to be like here in a little while? As we're all figuring this stuff out, And delivery, all of that stuff. What's that like? I mean, I've never been a delivery driver. Is it kind of like, you got to,
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the delivery aspect of it, but it's been a challenge to try to figure out the technological part of planning my route out so that I'm being as efficient as I possibly can. Because the way that I've been delivering, it's not like somebody orders, I make it, and then I go out. It's like I'm posting it, people are ordering it. I know that I've got, 20 orders of something. And then it's like, okay, am I going to make everything and do all 20 deliveries? Am I going to make it, go deliver a few, come back, get, build it again, and then go back out again?
You're still trying to crystallize that rhythm of how that all goes, huh?
I mean, and even with the lighter traffic, because of the fact that most people aren't actually going into their work, it still obviously takes a lot of time to get from point A to point B. I mean, the people that are ordering from me or living, I mean, I've delivered to Davis, I've delivered to Elk Grove, I've delivered out to Hazel Avenue.
Wow, so you're so just
I mean, when you're posting on social media, I'm not putting a parameter on it for people. I say I'm willing to deliver in the greater Sacramento area. So, wherever.
These are the things I think you'll have to kind of hammer out eventually. There'll be a day where it's like, hey, these trips to Vacaville aren't paying off anymore.
I'm not doing that. I mean, I think I have come to my own, I do have in my own head what a boundary is. And if there have been people that have ordered from me that live in Folsom or even in El Dorado Hills, and I'm not driving up there. They're actually, I've done a couple of, it's so funny. It's like these like sort of drug deals in the parking lot, right? It's like, let's meet. I'm like meeting them at a gas station. They live up in El Dorado Hills.
That's hilarious.
Like, let's meet it at the AM PM off of this exit. Okay, here's,
And is it like, here, I'll set it down here and back up?
Exactly. Put it on the ground, put it on their car.
Another practicality thing. Okay, so these people are already paid by the time you're delivering and everything. So you don't have to handle cash and everything. No. So that right there is a positive right there. Yeah. And I think that is going to be kind of the new way of things moving forward.
Yeah.
another one of those trends that I think we're going to be sticking with, handling all of this filthy cash. I mean, there's hardly any cash floating around anymore.
Right.
As it is, you know, I was working at that butcher shop you mentioned, V. Miller. You know, that's my last retail counter experience, and everybody's bringing cash in.
Right. So, well, I mean, Apple Pay has been around for a little while, so I mean, that was that. You know, I could also take that too, but yeah, I mean, PayPal, Venmo. I mean, even just taking credit cards, I can do that with Square, not swiping it, but just entering in the numbers on my whatever tablet I'm using. And yeah, I think that
my next prediction, the end of money. You heard it here first, folks.
Oh my gosh. I could definitely see coins going bye-bye. I mean, change, like having, like carrying a bunch of change now just seems totally
little
ridiculous.
Kids put it in their mouth and it's everywhere, man. Yeah. No, thanks. Done with change, folks. Let's see. So I kind of ran through my little list here. I was wondering if I wanted to bring on our buddy over here, Mr. Gregory, I should say. And Jeremy, I made a mistake. I thought you knew this guy. He misheard me. He was thinking of another Jeremy. Okay.
Oh, because I was going to say, I don't know him, but that's great. I got another question for you before I get into this guy. Hey, who else is doing cool stuff out there? What do you see going on during COVID? Who's doing cool stuff that you're seeing? Yeah, so my buddy JD Sneed is doing Michelin minivan. He was actually cool. I'm gonna give him some props right here. He doesn't know this, but
that's what I'm talking about.
It takes a lot to put yourself out there. You know what I mean? As an individual, even for somebody like me that was doing this private show. I mean, I've done this for dozens of people, celebrities. I mean, I've been in people's homes. It's, it takes a lot to put yourself out there. And so I actually didn't start doing this thing right when all of the COVID thing happened, but I saw JD doing it. And I was like, well, fuck, if this guy's going to do it, I'm going to get into it too. So he's doing it, and he's got a thing. He's got a more narrowly focused thing, and I think it's great.
So it's like Michelin minivan, huh? It's
exactly.
Like he's doing like little,
well, I think
molecular gastronomy plates.
But he's not. I think what he's been doing Korean barbecue stuff actually, but
see, that's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff that's going to explode right there.
Yeah, and then Juan Alvarez and his wife are doing I think it's just called Chef Juan Catering, maybe.
They're over in Yellow, right?
I don't know where they're based out of, but I thought that they were in Sacramento. But
I could be totally wrong.
But maybe not. And I've seen them do, again, they're I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but I also think they're a little bit more narrowly focused. I've seen them doing like seafood boils and things like that.
Those, sure. Yeah.
And those are really the two guys that I see constantly posting things. But I also realize that in all fairness, I'm sure that there's a lot of people doing this. They're just not in my circle,
Exactly.
I'm sure it's happening.
It's like the people that you mentioned. I haven't seen JD Snee, but I have seen Juan doing his thing out there, those boils and everything, and that's about it.
But that's the thing about the social, using social media is that it's so. I mean, I don't know if you're Facebook friends with JD, but if you are and you haven't seen him doing it, it's so frustrating from my perspective, because I have friends that say to me all the time, like, I didn't see you post that. I didn't know you were doing it. I'm like, dude, I posted it 5 times, it doesn't.
It's the algorithm thing you keep hearing about, I think.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yeah,
it just makes it very difficult.
But yeah,
it just makes it very difficult to get that word out there unless you've got people actively following your page or checking. It's difficult.
I think what it is Facebook wants to be that advertising firm that is charging you for those boosts, and that's how more people see it.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. And hey, they have this free platform. We get a little bit of use out of it already. Yeah. And so I'm not. I know. I guess I don't have an opinion on that that right there. I think it's okay that they kind of charge for some of the advertising.
Oh, I don't mind them charging for the advertising at all. I just wish that somehow that algorithm allowed for me to see all of my friends. You know, I mean, I realize that maybe that makes it clunky, but I have 1,300 friends or whatever, 2,000 friends, and I'm only seeing 20 of them posting.
Yeah, exactly. And who's picking those 20 too? That's an interesting question.
Exactly. I don't know.
So anyway, gosh, let me just kind of wake up Gregory's microphone here and see if I can get him on the line. Unmute audio. I think he's there. Gregory, are you still there?
I'm still here, dude.
All right, cool. Well, Jeremy, we were kind of coming to the end of the Jeremy K interview here, but Jeremy, I was wondering if you might want to kind of hang out. I got this organic farmer here and everything. If you know, we'll talk for a little minute here and maybe get you in as a kind of a three-way conversation. You want to kind of hang out a little bit?
I will, but I'll come right back.